even though the little boy couldn't see what had happened, it was like his eyes looked right through him, which is really an interesting thing to happen right after your brother dies, I feel.
Oh my God! Like your brother dies sort of by your mistake, and then a witness shows up, but not a real witness. But in the laws of murder, you should kill this witness anyway, because he says something like he's not 100% sure the kid was blind or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So the kid's a possible witness, and he lets him go. So in a lot of ways, he failed twice that night.
True.
At least in the eyes of his father. So.
Hello and welcome to Comic Dissection, the comic book club podcast where we talk about comics through an intersectional leftist lens. And I am Cecilia Rose.
I am Reno V. Woot.
Woot woot.
That's all I got.
Yeah. This week we are reading The Touch Within Your Abyss or Touching Your Night. I've seen it both ways when I was looking it up.
Yes.
This was written and drawn by Mori Maori, an artist which I have zero information about, and when I googled her, still received zero information about.
Or is this Japanese?
Yes.
I see Japanese manga artists, man, they are all about their anonymity. Right under their aliases, when they go to, like, cons and stuff, a lot of times they wear, like, facial coverings. They're about keeping their private life private, and you know
what? That's fair.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
They also have a manga out called The Bride of Ignat, but that one isn't done yet, and I haven't really seen that many updates for it, so I don't know if they're just taking their time or if it's because it's one of those things where I have to read through fan translations online. Maybe there aren't people translating that particular one.
Right. These things take time. It
does. This one I'm in love with because of the art.
Mm-hmm.
The story's okay. It's it's built on a lot of coincidences, but
a wild number of coincidences.
But the art is fantastic. I do not know who this woman sold her soul to be able to draw like this.
Yeah.
But hot damn, it was worth it.
Yeah. Deal struck.
So, jumping right in, our journey starts off with our main character, whose name is Chinatsu, dreaming of watching his brother die, which is a heavy way to begin a manga. It's not but it was his first job because he works apparently for, I guess, what would be considered a gang.
He works for his dad, right?
It's a family business.
I don't really know. Like, his dad, he works for his dad, and his dad just sends him messages. It's like, hey, kill this guy. Hey, kill this guy. Hey, kill this guy. And you don't ever know why. You don't ever know if this is a gang thing. For all I know, his dad's a government official, and he's like, we need to wipe out the leader of this gang.
Paid.
Yeah, exactly. Like, or we need to wipe out the leader of this, member of the Yakuza, because they're not working with the government like they ought to, or whatever. Like, you don't get a lot of details about the family business.
Yeah, it is. Besides it being a family business, it is a little sparse with what information you're getting.
Yeah, but that I don't mind. Like, that I'm kind of cool with. I'm like, all right, yeah. Like, you know everything you need to know. Mm-hmm. But he's an assassin.
Supposed to be.
For somebody. For some old body. Well, that's what he'd write on his resume. He wouldn't mention his success rate, but but his job title would be assassin.
You know what? Fair. Yeah. So, in this dream, someone pulls out a gun, but then it's interrupted, and he's got such a baby face. the art again, just amazing. Like the big eyes, and he's so small.
And I thought that like the black around his eyes was from lack of sleep, but man, he's got it from day one. That's just
It's a lot of trauma growing up in a game.
Oh, I was going to say, it might be a birth defect, or it might just be he hasn't been sleeping since day one.
Well, one of the comments lower on one of these chapters does say that towards the end, you get to see him without the stuff under his eyes. So I think he just has a rough time when he's still in this situation. So he wakes up and you get him waking up. He slept on his sofa.
Yeah, and his father's calling him. And at first, I thought father was just a code name, like that was just his handler or whatever. It was not till later on that I realized that this was his, because it shows his phone and it says father on it. So father's calling, and I thought father was just like, I don't know, the name of the weird spy organization he worked for, or maybe the name of like a code name for, we just call him father, but he's actually a horrible man.
Well, he is a horrible man.
He is a horrible man, boy, and we'll get into it, but this is his flesh and blood daddy.
Yep.
Calling him up, telling him he's got a job.
Yep.
And he would like him to perform it better than his last job. But she performed poorly.
Well, it was his first job. Mm-hmm. Towards the end of that dream, right before he woke up, after his brother was murdered, there was another little boy that showed up in the alleyway with a stick in his hand, asking if anybody was there. And after the phone call, he gets guilted by his great parental figure about how the last time he had a job, he let his brother die. So you definitely have to kill this time.
How many years are there between the dream he's waking up from?
5.
So does that mean it's been 5 years since he's been given a job?
I think so.
Man, his dad was not happy with that first performance. Mm-hmm. It's 5 years before he calls him up and says, all right, I'm going to give you another chance. It makes you wonder, and again,
I think it's just the age. It's like a gang initiation.
Yeah.
You have to be at a certain point before you can, and he was too young.
Yeah.
Prior. I think he maybe went with Fuyuka, because that's his brother. Fuyuki.
Yeah.
Fuyuki. I think he went with Fuyuki because Fuyuki is older than him.
Yeah.
And his mistake let Fuyuki get killed. Is my understanding of the
Which leads to a guilt that is all-consuming. But I wonder in these 5 years between then and now, has he been like doing other things for the gang, like collecting protection money, or... And again, I'm possibly jumping to the conclusion that he is in fact in a gang and not, in the military or the government or whatever. But yeah, he does kind of, when you see him like clothed and walking around, he does kind of have that like that stereotypical Yakuza persona of like a suit, but it's a little ruffled and a little like it's not perfectly coiffed. He hasn't tied his tie quite correctly, and he's not. So I'm thinking probably gang. We're going to assume gang unless something pops out otherwise. And I assume in these 5 years he's been collecting protection money and like standing behind somebody and looking intimidating and other stuff. But this is the first time he's been offered another murder gig.
Yeah. It's his first kill by himself.
And it's kind of it's simultaneously a show of trust from his father and a test to see if he is in fact,
if he can do this.
Yeah, if he can do this. It's like, hey, this is an important job I'm trusting you with. But you did fuck up last time, so this is also a test to see if you can do what you need to do now.
And so we're left with Chinatsu dealing with the incredible guilt and knowing that he is not a person who can murder. Like, he's already well aware of who he is.
Yeah.
And he is not someone who can just kill someone for no reason.
Yeah, bless him, he keeps trying, though.
And he reflects on the little boy who was there with him after his brother died and how he was blind. So even though the little boy couldn't see what had happened, it was like his eyes looked right through him, which is really an interesting thing to happen right after your brother dies, I feel.
Oh my God, like your brother dies sort of by your mistake, and then a witness shows up. But not a real witness. But in the laws of murder, you should kill this witness anyway. Because he says something like, he's not 100% sure the kid was blind or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So the kid's a possible witness. And he lets him go. So in a lot of ways, he failed twice that night.
That's true.
At least in the eyes of his father. So, yeah. So he's taking a walk after his dad called and gave him the great news that he's got a promotion back to assassin again.
I got a job for you, kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's taking his walk and someone snatches a purse.
Yep.
And Chinatsu stops the purse snatcher and manages to scare him just by standing there, which is a skill I want to perfect in life. I need to figure out how to do that. You
think you need to be a little bit taller.
Oh, damn.
Maybe a baller. Maybe have a girl look good. You can call her. What? It's a good song.
Anyways. Turns out that the purse was snatched from the same blind boy from his memories.
Which, again, this town has like 80 people in it. Or otherwise, the story does not work.
Well, it's funny that after dreaming about him, which I don't know how often he has this dream, because it's not really established.
Well, it's manga, so I assume every night.
Every night. Must be.
These things are obsessions for these characters, usually.
Yeah. It's just funny that after having this dream, there's the boy again. Yeah. Randomly, out of however many people live in this place. And he hands the bag back, but the boy's walking stick has been broken in the altercation.
Yes.
And he has a white cane. Now, Reno, you've been to Japan.
Yep.
Do they have colored canes for stuff?
I mean,
I didn't realize that this was a thing.
I am not aware of that. I'm trying to think. I don't think I encountered a blind person during my time there, so I can't speak it for sure. But it would be a weird it would be a weird thing to just establish for this world. So I'm thinking it's probably legit. That
they mentioned that the cane's white, so that means he can't see.
Yeah, it's not just a dancing cane.
How many people just walk around with canes nowadays, though?
Well, older people. But children? Probably not a lot. I would, honestly, if I saw a child with a cane, I would assume Halloween costume or blind. Yeah, those are the only reasons I would expect a kid would have a cane. But
so, because his cane is broken, now he can't...
Offers to walk him home.
Yeah, Chinatsu offers to walk him home because, unfortunately, our blind boy here is not able to really navigate all that well without it.
And he thinks to himself, Chinatsu is like, don't get too involved in this. And I literally rolled my eyes when I read that. I was like, sure.
Yeah, we're going to listen to that piece of advice to ourselves, right?
Yeah, this will be the end of this. This guy, this dude you dream about since time immemorial just shows up out of nowhere. And you're just going to walk him home and that'll be the end of it. Yeah.
Honestly, the fact that this boy was just going to walk away on his own, no cane, I'm surprised he survived thus far, to be perfectly honest.
That is one of this child's big-time character traits, is he is pretty fearless. It's
true.
He is just willing to go anywhere. To like, his blindness, he tries not to let it affect him too much.
Kasumi is the blind boy's name. I like that although he's limited because of his sight, he's still got a very unbeatable spirit. Like, he wants to do things for himself. Like you just said, he's blind, but he's like, okay, and now I'm going to go
still going to hit the town. It's like, you can't do that, man.
You need help. Yeah, at least get a puppy.
You gotta know how to get home.
So, yeah, it establishes here that it was 5 years ago that Kasumi had watched, unwittingly watched his brother. He unwittingly watched Chinatsu's brother. So
I'm assuming that these two are relatively close to the same age.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Chinatsu looks a lot older.
Well, you know, than, hard life,
Kasumi. Man. Yeah. Well, and also like a lot taller, and
that's true. Yeah. Kasumi's very small.
Yeah, Kasumi is a little fella.
He's a small boy.
as an older brother, Satora, who we meet, who at first I thought was older sister.
Yeah.
Wears very nice eye makeup. Satora, or it looks like. I think it's just the way that Satora's drawn. Yeah. But yeah, those two live together in an inn that they keep up. And
it's the top of a ryokan. It's a Japanese
ryokan. It's an old-timey inn with tatami mats, and you sleep on the floor and that kind of stuff. Usually they have a hot spring, and it's usually you'll make like a night of it. You'll go and you'll soak in the hot spring, and then you'll stay the night, and then they'll give you a really good breakfast of like local delicacies, and then you go back to probably to work.
Yeah, Kasumi-san lives in the hot springs. More of that Japanese bathing culture, you know?
Yeah.
That part.
Always a fan. Always a fan. Yeah.
But yeah, Satori had come out to lecture Kasumi about leaving by himself because how dare you just wander out, you're blind.
Yeah. Come on.
And
he's supposed to be watching you.
Yeah, Kasumi says that this gentleman helped him while he was stuck in a difficult situation.
Yeah, Satora is actually the younger brother, but is also taller than Kasumi. And the two of them inherited this from their parents with the idea that Kasumi would be the one that took over. But when the blindness struck, all of this fell on to Satora, which is another thing. Like, Kasumi and Chinatsu, both have a lot of guilt about obligations that they put on their siblings or hardships that they caused their siblings. But Satora is very nice and offers Chinatsu the run of the place. Yeah.
For helping his brother get home safe. And I don't know if they established, but also like getting the bag back and all that jazz.
Yeah, he did all the good things.
He helped out. He helped out. He could have just walked away like everyone else was, and he actually did something. So that's nice. Chinatsu, I don't really think he ever had it in him to be a criminal.
He's born into the wrong family. I mean, so.
We get a little flashback of Chinatsu's dad being like, I don't have anyone else left in my life, so don't tell me that you cannot kill. And I wrote down just pops of the year here, like Mr. Dad of the year telling his son he needs to be a murderer. Cool pops, family pressure. Who doesn't have that? Super relatable.
Yeah, for real, but also like, what kind of organization are you running where you don't have anyone? It almost reminds me of like the Trump administration, where like he couldn't rely on anyone but his family. Like he distrusted everyone else so much that like. He was like, well, obviously, my sons have to have these high positions, and my daughter has to have this high position, because I can't. They'll
never betray me.
I am such a poisonous like monster that I can't trust anyone else.
Yeah.
And I think Chintatsu's father is like that. He's such a shady motherfucker that like he can only trust his kid, and now just his child, since there's only one left.
So. Chinatsu is led back to a room by Kasumi, and they stop to smell the flowers. And
a rhododendron, a flower that blooms only in the night. And then I'm like, like this child who can't see anything but nightness and is still blooming as a full-grown individual. Good on him. I see what you did there.
The symbolism did not escape me.
It did not. I'm clever. All that money on my English degree in college. Woohoo, it was not a waste.
All of that just to get on this podcast and help identify the symbolism.
Worth it.
Of the flowers. Look at you go, Reno.
That's right.
You've come so far in life. Alright, so he gets led back to the room, and Kasumi almost forgets to turn the flowers on or turn the lights on.
Yes.
Because he's always in the darkness anyway.
Easy stuff for him.
Yeah. And they have tea, and then they talk about a book. Yeah. So they are us.
Yeah.
We are them.
Yeah. So also, they're talking about reading things in Braille. Like, this was a book. They ended up talking about a book about a dolphin and a serpent. And by mere coincidence, again, this town has only 80 people and only 6 books. Chinatsu and Kasumi read the same book about a dolphin and a snake.
Yeah.
A water snake. And just a little weird side note. Like, I recently did a a interview on another podcast called Raven Reads. And that is a podcast that I very much recommend. And a recent episode they did, he was talking with someone who has gone blind, and they were talking about Braille. And I did not realize, Cecilia, I don't know if you did, but like to make a Braille book takes way more pages to dictate the words than a normal book.
That makes sense.
Yeah, he was talking about The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as like the first book is like a 4-volume set in Braille.
Damn.
And the guy I was talking to mentioned how now that audiobooks are such a common thing, it's opened up like a whole new world for him.
Yeah.
And it's something I never thought of because I was like, no, well, I mean, if you're blind, you can just learn to read Braille and, you know, it's the exact same and you're exactly as well off as the person who can read. But it did not occur to me that A, those books are like bricks, and B, that learning to read Braille and then reading Braille is a very slow process. And for someone who likes to read at a normal pace or a fast pace, like, it would be extremely frustrating. It would be like...
Yeah, and I imagine the selection is also a lot more limited.
Yeah, and it's kind of like deciding you're going to start reading only in Spanish in, you know, today.
Yeah.
And it's like, imagine you want to read, you know, something like this in Spanish. Imagine how long it would take you because every other word you have to stop and look up or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so when I saw that, I was just like, yeah, man, like Braille, Jesus Christ. Anyway, that was a fun little tidbit that I wanted to whip out at parties.
I appreciate that tidbit because
I'm going to whip it out here first.
I'm glad that's all you're whipping out.
Yeah,
anyway. No, I am aware that Braille is, I'd imagine it would be hard to learn. That bit doesn't surprise me. Mm-hmm. I hadn't really considered how limited it probably is and the amount of books that have been translated.
Yeah, me either. And like I said, that podcast really melted my brain. And then right after I listened to it, to read this and be like, ha-ha! Everything's serendipity.
Another strange coincidence.
Yes. In my small town.
So, they're talking over tea and, I don't know, some kind of weird cookie loaf thing.
Yeah, I think it's like a bean paste snack, because they mentioned that later, and I think it might be a callback to this. But yeah, they're having a little tea set.
Yeah, they're having a nice little sit down, and they're talking about how Kasumi mentions that he was, a long time ago, he became completely blind about 5 years ago. And it was on his way back that he ran into something in the alleyway, and he heard a loud noise. And since I can only rely on my ears and my nose, he tried to follow the sound. Mm. In the dark alley, he could make out the shape of someone. On the spur of the moment, he called out, and after that, it felt like a dream. And that's, I think, the last time he was able to actually see anything at all.
And Chinatsu is like, oh, does he know who I am? Because it's very strange. You know, a coincidence that this story comes up at this exact time.
The episode of coincidences.
Yes. But it turns out, no, Kasumi is just telling him this because he feels really close to him. And he's like, hey, will you be my friend and come visit?
I wrote down here, Chinatsu is paranoid.
Yeah. With good reason. I mean...
And at least he wasn't forgotten about. Like, he made enough of an impact on Kasumi that Kasumi was like, yeah, I remember this weird thing from so many years ago where I was walking around and I went totally blind after this trembling boy.
I heard screams, smelled a lot of blood. There was a dude there, you know.
I really think it's funny. Kasumi's very first friend is a killer. He really knows how to pick them.
He's just that kind. He's like, you know what? I'm attracted to a certain type of person.
I got a type.
Murder.
So, Chinatsu's like, after listening to your story, I wonder, aren't you a little careless? Yeah, Kasumi is lonely, and I don't think he super cared how much danger Chinatsu might be, as long as Chinatsu would come hang out with him occasionally. Yeah.
Like,
that's so sad.
Tell me stories of your murder. Well, they mentioned that, like, in the Ryokan, his building where he stays is actually a little offset from the rest. It's, like, on the other side of the garden. So, like, the isolation is not just mental. Like, it's a very real thing. Yeah. Because Satora and Kasumi's parents kind of wanted him out of sight because they're like, well...
It's shameful.
Well, yeah, it might make people uncomfortable, and it's shameful, and so you stay over there. And later, I'll go ahead and mention it, but later Satoru mentions, hey, I shouldn't have, but I kind of adopted that mindset from them, and I kind of continued it when I shouldn't have, and kept Kasumi separated when I shouldn't, and far away from the rest of the world when I shouldn't.
Satori realizes his mistake after...
Yeah.
Because he knows... Well,
I think Chinatsu is why. Because Kasumi lights up and becomes a much more positive person, and Satoru sees that and is like, oh, I didn't realize how much you were suffering until I saw you not suffering. Like,
it became a normal thing that I didn't think about because you had been like this for so long, and then around.
You know, I'm not piling on Satoru. Like, Satoru he adopted a lot of responsibility.
And he
like
was
all
also
of a sudden,
a child.
He was a child as well, and all of a sudden, all of this, like this inn was dropped into his lap. And also a child that he has to take care of
because
his older brother.
Unfortunately, Kasumi needs constant care.
Yeah.
And it is a lot to put on another child.
Absolutely. So I'm not judging. But so in chapter 1, these two decide, hey, let's be friends.
Well, Chinatsu, he like has a flash of his father saying that he doesn't need friends. Yeah. But Kasumi admits how lonely it's been, and he enjoys talking and meeting with Chinatsu like this. So he wants to be friends, and Chinatsu's like, okay, we can be friends.
Yep.
And at least it also is a way, I think Chinatsu says later it's a way to keep his eye on Kasumi and see what Kasumi actually knows. Yeah. But that is a validation that occurs later for something he wants to do now anyways.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that leads us into chapter 2, where
we get the flashback we just mentioned of the parents
being just great. Just great parents all the way around in this book.
Yeah, as Kasumi is trying to come to grips with blindness, he's listening to his parents arguing about the situation and the shame. And the dad's like, no, he can't be blind. He's supposed to take over the business. And then, the mother being like, that's all you ever think about. And they're just sniping each other. And it's a shot, there's a nice single shot with no word bubbles of him just covering his ears alone in a room. And it's like, I felt bad. Yeah. I felt very bad for him.
It's a good shot of the isolation. Because he is trapped in this room by himself. Alone again. Like, he's all by himself. There, and I imagine being blind is very awful. Yeah. Like, I can't... It cuts to Chinatsu.
Yeah, Kasumi's telling that story to Chinatsu. Yeah. And saying he's very happy. Kasumi saying he's very happy.
That Chinatsu keeps coming to see him.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Chinatsu keeps coming during the mornings, and he says he works at night. So I do think he does something for the gang.
Yeah. I assume he stands behind another gang member and crosses his arms, because we've already established he's good at looking tough. Like, intimidation is a strong suit.
Yeah, he knows how to glare just right to make someone freeze.
Yeah. There's a funny scene that I didn't actually catch my first time through. I'm just catching it now. Kasumi is digging through his bookshelf to get a book, and he shakes the bookshelf as he's doing it. And he grabs the book and pulls it out, but another book is getting ready to hit him on the head. And Chinatsu quietly, stops it from hitting him on the head and puts it back. And later on, he'll get hit on the head. He'll be like, that hasn't happened as much since Chinatsu was coming around. So implying that Chinatsu's caught, 9 or 10 of these books that were getting ready to knock out this little blind kid.
Again, Chinatsu was never made for a life of crime.
And Kasumi was never made for a life of, I guess, getting books off of shelves. He's not good at it.
This boy goes out of his way, because, the book on the head is not going to kill Kasumi. There's a decent chance that this has happened his whole life. But Chinatsu...
He probably got, a full-time on the back of his head.
He's got a special spot that just doesn't feel any pain.
His book not there forever. Yeah, absolutely.
But Chinatsu was just like, nah, I can't let this happen mostly.
Yeah. This kid. Why is he trying to hurt himself all the time?
So yeah, Kasumi asks Chinatsu to read to him.
Yeah.
And that is it's so adorable. He's got this little there's this panel with him he asks to read it out loud. He's got this little shy look on his face and he's sort of half hiding behind the book. It's so adorable.
Yes. He says something though that it just caught me as weird. He's like, oh, I've read this story to myself many times. But Chinatsu reading it's strange, but it sounds different. I'm like, that's not strange. That's how getting read to by a different person sounds. It doesn't sound like you. It sounds like the other person. What are you talking about?
He means it makes his heart flutter.
I know,
okay?
and I say that's what you ought to say. Not, it's different. It's not different. I mean, it is different, but it's obvious it's different. Different people read in different voices. This little kid. I mean, seriously.
I hope he's not a little kid because stuff happens later that I would be against.
I know. Honestly, that's why I wanted to establish you right up front. How old is this kid? Because
they're both adults.
Yeah, or old enough, or they're both the same age of kids, and that works too.
That is also true.
Yeah. But yeah, he's talking about.
He read this book as a child.
He's kind of obsessed with the ocean and sea life and stuff.
The dolphin was raised in
because
an
of
aquarium.
the story. Yeah.
And it didn't know the sea. And then he meets a sea snake. It's a story full of longing. It's such a sweet... they're so... Kasumi reads part of it that he has memorized out loud. He's speaking while Chinatsu's reading. And he does want to go see the ocean and the animals. And Chinatsu's like, well, the sea's far. But how about we go to the aquarium? And Kasumi's like, yeah, but I can't see anything at the aquarium.
He's like, you can listen and I'll describe it to you.
He's so sweet. Again, Chinatsu, not made for a life of crime.
No.
My poor boy. So, they do go on a little aquarium date, which I have to ask, you know a lot about Japan.
No.
Is that is that a staple of dating life in Japan? Because I have read so many romance mangas.
Aquariums are a big thing there, and they have amazing aquariums. And I think because Japan is an island, and ever since the beginning of Japan, the ocean has been such a huge part. It's where most of their food comes from. That's not rice. It's that sound of the ocean is with them every day because no matter where you are in Japan, you're only an hour or two from the coast.
Yeah.
I think it is really a big deal. And I think the aquariums there are very well funded and very well loved. I've been to 3 or 4. I mean, when I went last year, I went to an aquarium and man, they're just so nice and
I mean, I like an aquarium too.
Everyone likes an aquarium. Show me someone who doesn't like an aquarium.
It's just
it's a common trope.
It is a common trope in romance mangas.
Yeah.
There's almost always an aquarium date. If there are two characters that are trying to get together, there is an aquarium date.
It's definitely a thing to do. Well, what do we do today? Well, let's go to the aquarium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But I just thought I'd ask.
Oh no. Fair enough.
So while they're on this little aquarium date, Chinatsu reflects that he thinks that Kasumi deserves to see the outside world much more than him. Because Kasumi, up to this point, has been a very innocent and positive influence on Chinatsu.
Yeah.
And they're describing...
we shouldn't skip past where they we describe a jellyfish.
I wrote this down.
And we picture a little jellyfish in drag, which is not correct.
It looks like a fucking Pokemon.
It's so cute. Yeah, because, Chintatsu's trying to describe this jellyfish and sort of says, its bottom half, it kind of looks like it's wearing a dress. And so then we actually get to see what Kasumi is imagining versus what actually it is.
Kasumi's little jellyfish in a dress looks like a Pokemon. I swear to God, I have caught that.
Yeah.
On Pokemon Go.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a water type.
It's so adorable.
Yeah, I love. And right under it is my favorite panel of the one where they're next to the really massive tank. Mm-hmm. And it's just a still shot of the two of them looking up, and you see all the sea life swimming around them. Like, that's such a great shot. It's
really sad how isolated Kasumi has been.
Yeah.
And yeah, they are standing in front of this really massive tank. And Kasumi says he can see a really bright light. Like, he can tell that there's a large light in front of them.
Yeah.
And then Chinatsu describes the stuff that's in the tank for Kasumi. And it's such a sweet little date. Like, they're so cute.
Then they go to the dolphin show, which of course has special significance because of the story between the dolphin and the water snake that they share so much.
Oh my god, Kasumi is the dolphin.
Yeah. Yeah. Chinatsu may be the water snake.
Maybe.
There might be some sort of thing here. And they go to a park and they sit and Kasumi's like, I'm not ready to go home. Let's just keep doing things. Just forever and ever.
Let's just keep walking around. We don't have to leave yet. And he wants to know more about Chinatsu and like what his favorite thing is, what just tiny little precious
favorite food,
moments.
favorite color, that kind of stuff.
And here we get Chinatsu reflecting that like he'd be a disappointment to Kasumi if Kasumi knew who and what he was and what he did, and he's jealous of Kasumi's purity. And I really like the line, "I will defile you." Yeah. I don't care. It's underrated and it's hot. I actually screenshot my phone and sent it to my cousins because they both really like romance novels. Yeah. And I'm like, this is underrated. This is an underrated hot line. This is very sexy.
Yes, I'm much more comfortable with it now that I know these two are about the same age.
Yeah.
Up to that point, it's like,
Here's the thing. I always assume I let a lot go when I'm reading fictional stories. Yeah. So even if there was a tiny bit of an age gap, in all honesty, in Scumville and Self-Saving System, Lao Bingi starts as a 14-year-old, and you get to read about the sexual awakening of said 14-year-old, which made me a little uncomfortable because that is a child. Yeah. But eventually, him and Shin Shishuan end up together, and although Shin Shishuan is his teacher, I was okay with it. Like, whatever. Lao Bingi was never going to end up with anyone else. There was no way. Yeah. But in real life, you go to jail for that.
Well, it works better in fiction because you can get in the head of both characters. So you know, like, well, this character isn't being taken advantage of because I'm in his head or her head every step of the way. Yeah. And vice versa with the other character. And like you say, I know these two characters in a way that I know that this is just how it would have had to have gone.
Yep. They're not real. Like, no one's getting hurt. Like, in real life, that would be a jail sentence. But, so even if he were a little bit younger, I'd have been okay with it. But I do think they're about the same age.
Yeah, I found my line because I realized even if it's drawn, I would not be okay with it if they were.
I'm so much smut.
I'm super happy to know that they are they are close in age.
They're similar. They're at a similar age.
Yeah.
But he wants.
Yeah. Chinatsu almost kisses him.
He does.
Oh, does they actually? Yeah, like they get real close, but I don't think they actually touch lips.
No, they don't. Chinatsu instead
takes his asshole.
He sort of lays his head on Kasumi's shoulder for a minute.
Yeah.
And then he does. He gets him home safe.
Yeah, get him home.
And then there's a scene of
gets a call from his fucking dad.
Ruins the best date. The cutest little date that has happened gets ruined by a stupid father.
Yeah. And once again, he's imagining trying to choke someone, and then their face turns into Kasumi, and he's like, oh, fuck, God.
See, I actually think he was in the middle of choking someone.
Oh, you thinking, like...
Yeah, I think that because... So, he does get a call from his father. There's this scene where he's beating this person up, which may have been what he was doing for the gang. Maybe he's just a muscle. Yeah. But he can't...
yeah, his dad says if you can't kill, you'll have to do at least this much.
Yeah. But he is choking. I feel like he is choking someone, and then he sees Kasumi's face, and then
lets him go.
He leaves. Because, my poor baby was never made for this. He was not made for this lifestyle.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Kasumi, it starts raining, so Kasumi runs to his window and opens it up, and he's just enjoying the rain. And in the rain, it's Chinatsu looking as emo can be.
Hey,
that's not an insult. It's and you cannot deny. He's in all black. His eyes are downcast, and he's standing in the rain, Cecilia.
It is very, very romance movie from the 90s.
any more emo, and he's going to welcome this kid to the Black Parade. Thus ends chapter 2. With our sad boy being sad.
He does sort of reach out in the rain for Kasumi at the end of that chapter.
Well, yes, the opening of chapter 3 is the hands touching. Yeah.
And Kasumi reflects that he smells of blood and soil and rain. And he thinks he knows that something is odd about Chinatsu.
Yeah.
But it's not going to change.
You don't even know the half of it.
Kasumi handles the notion of him being covered in blood very chill-like. Like, he's very, okay, this is what this is. And that's fine. That's what we're doing now, I suppose.
Right.
So he dries him up, and he makes him more comfortable. And Chinatsu's father keeps calling, like the attention-starved little bitch that he is.
Daddy. Daddy wants to talk to you.
And here we meet Chinatsu and Satori have a little conversation about how Chinatsu's like, I'll leave once the rain stops. And Satori's like, it's supposed to rain all night.
Yeah. You
can just stay. And
well, this is where Satori kind of gives his blessing to them hanging, at the very least, to them spending time together. Like, look, you're making my older brother happy. I have no problem with any of this. Stay the night even, if you want.
I wrote that we're interrupted by Satori, who explains that his family was ashamed of their blind child, so they hid him away like the plague. I really dislike parental units in a lot of the things that I read. Why are they all so bad at this?
Yes, it might be that very thing.
Yeah. So, just Chinatsu mentions that Kasumi lives in a detached building from the rest of the house and asks why. And Satori's like, yeah, my mother was worried about what people would think.
No biggie. My family was just ashamed of me. Again, Kasumi's handling this and with quiet aplomb. Just like, oh, yeah, no biggie. Just no one wanted to be seen around me. That's all.
And yeah, Satori offers him the hot springs because there's nobody around right now.
Yeah, it's kind of late at night. Like, everybody's already gone to bed. Hot springs are open.
He leaves with the line, our bathwater is good for healing injuries. So, Chinatsu's not fooling anybody with the amount of bruises and blood on him.
No. And that's also a very common thing in Japan, that hot springs have different, like, qualities. Like, oh, this one will cure your cuts and bruises. This one will help you study for tests, etc., etc.
And so Chinatsu goes back to Kasumi and says, you know, your brother said that I could use the hot springs. And Kasumi's like, here you go, and hands him a robe.
That's his size.
Yeah. Kasumi's been preparing for a sleepover in a hurry.
I had this just in case, in the very, very off chance that you might stay over and eat
I was thinking about maybe inviting you at some point to hang out. Kasumi also, like, everyone is just super chill about Chinatsu showing up here covered in blood and bruises. They're just gonna let him hang out.
He seems nice.
Yeah.
I mean, anything. He could have tripped and fell on the way here. Like, we don't know. And it better not to ask questions, because it'll create problems.
Yeah, Kasumi says, I thought it might be nice if you stayed here at some point, Chinatsu-san. So I prepared ahead of time.
Kid, I'm suffocating. Give me some space.
So we,
Just kidding. Chinatsu loves this shit.
Yeah, he's here for it.
Yes. He's literally here for it. He is soaking in the hot tub.
He is, and then he sort of dozes off, and when he wakes up, Kasumi has managed to, find him in the hot springs and sits down with him in him, which is cute. He had to get some help, had to get someone to guide him because, blind boy. And there's a little bit of a discovery of all the wounds that Chinatsu has because he's bleeding and he's got lots of little spots on him.
Yeah, he's been through it. This is probably from his beating up of a person early in the day.
Kasumi treats his wounds and gives him fresh clothes for the night, and Kasumi asks him about the moon.
It's full, of course.
The drawing in this is just so pretty. Like, this panel of Kasumi when he's asking about the moon, it's so well done. Like, his face is so soft, and like Mori has such a talent for drawing innocence. Mm-hmm. Like, it's such a pretty panel. And he says, back when I was able to see things faintly, I could always sleep through the sunny days because everything would be pitch black. And even the moonlight was missing when he stepped into the hallway. And that's when I thought, this world of mine will only ever be a perpetual night. It's sad.
Yeah. Although Kasumi, not one to feel sorry for himself.
No.
No.
But they end up going to sleep on the little mats, and Chinatsu says that his brother, because Kasumi had been asking about what his brother said to Chinatsu, and Chinatsu's like, he says you've been smiling a lot lately, and he's glad about it. Chinatsu's so sweet.
Yeah.
And Kasumi's like, it's all because of Chinatsu that I've been smiling, so.
Yeah. You know. Like, if you know.
Yeah. There's a panel of, because Kasumi had made a note of, like, he wants to know more about Chinatsu. Mm-hmm. So they're talking about if Chinatsu asks Kasumi asks if Chinatsu has any siblings, and Chinatsu says that Kasumi, he had a brother, but his brother's dead. And there's this cute little flashback of tiny baby Chinatsu and his older brother playing, and he looks so tiny.
When they're actually getting along. They're actually, he always got along with his brother, but like an actual positive memory, not just, this the night he died over and over again.
Yeah, it is a nice reflection, because apparently they spent the day playing or having fun, and Fuyuki is like, yeah, let's keep it a secret from Dad. Like, they had a good day just being kids. Which is just,
it lets you know how deep this abuse goes, that, like, them having fun together is something that their dad can't know about.
Yeah.
Like, we weren't training in the art of murder today. Hope Dad doesn't find out. Like, Jesus Christ, man. What a slave driver, this guy.
They were both babies. Fuyuki was 18 when he died, trying to protect his brother. And, I think Chinatsu looks like he might be about 12. And Fuyuki is just letting him have something that might resemble a childhood.
Yeah.
Like, he looks so tiny.
Yeah.
So 18, it was 5 years ago, and Chinatsu gets on top of him and says, I killed him with my own hands. Which is not true.
Yeah.
But he's trying to get Kasumi to tell him to leave and to reject him. But instead, Kasumi, like, nuzzles his hand and is like, I don't know anything. Or, like, he's... Because Chinatsu made this situation to get rejected. And instead, Kasumi is like, I might be a little scared, but you're a kind person, and I know that. And Chinatsu's filled with a lot of guilt and worried that he might end up hurting Kasumi.
Yeah, and he's not strong enough to push Kasumi away, so he's going to make himself so undesirable that Kasumi will leave on his own,
Yeah.
And Kasumi, of course, is the first person that's talked to him besides his brother in like 5 years, so no, not going to happen.
Yeah, no. And so Kasumi's like, I'm going to be selfish. You might hurt me. I still want to know you.
Yeah.
And it makes Chinatsu cry, and they kiss.
Yeah.
And then the morning comes, and Chinatsu leaves his necklace, which that necklace is important. It's the only thing I think he still has from Fuyuki.
Yes.
So
it's the heirloom from his brother.
That's the end of chapter 3, is Chinatsu leaving because he knows he can't stay with Kasumi.
Yeah. He says, I got something I gotta do first.
Yeah. If he's still in this lifestyle.
Yeah.
He can't be someone that can be around Kasumi, because then Kasumi could get hurt because of him.
No. She's getting out. He's going to try to, anyway.
Yeah. That's the goal, anyway.
Yeah.
And then chapter 4.
And I think he thinks it might kill him.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's why he left the necklace with Kasumi, is like, you know, just to remember me by if I don't make it back, which is very possible, because I do not know how this is going to play out. And so, yeah, we go into chapter 4.
Chapter 4 opens with Kasumi remembering the kiss and wondering where Chinatsu went. And this was the scene you were talking about, where he goes to get a book.
In the head with the book.
And he's like, it's been a while since that happened.
Yeah, I wonder why. You've had a guardian angel saving you from book bumps.
And then he accidentally finds the necklace, and Kasumi remembers he was crying, and yet I was caught up in my own excitement, and all I've done is wait for him. So he goes to...
This is some of that Kasumi bravery. He's just gonna start looking for... You can't look for people, Kasumi. I'm sorry. Like, it's just not in your wheelhouse.
You're literally blind, my man. And look, I love you.
You're blind as a bat.
Literally.
Yeah, So he walks outside with his cane. He's like, well, I don't know which direction he's gone. I don't know where he's gone. Don't know what he looks like. Don't know who I could ask for help. And again, one of our wonderful coincidences, although this one's less coincidence than the others, a man walks up and offers to help him. And this person is Chintatsu's father. And I wrote, Dad, oh shit, kid, get out of there. Get out of there.
Yeah.
Because, this bad dad that we've heard so much about.
He's like, nice to meet you. I'm Chinatsu's father. It seems like Chinatsu currently has his hands tied, so he asked me to come get you. Boy, why did you get in this car? I know you know.
Well, Kasumi mentions that, like, oh, he kind of sounds like Chintatsu, and he sort of smells like Chintatsu. So it probably is his dad, and he wants to take me to the guy. I'm literally looking. It seems like a godsend. Like, you're like, I don't know how to find this person. And then someone just walks up and is like, I'll help you find him. Yeah. I know exactly where he is. And you're like, oh my God, what luck. and also, not that this matters to Kasumi, but his father looks fine. His father's just a dude in a suit. He doesn't look like a
He got demon. That dead eye look going on,
he does have like very black eyes, but
So they get in the car, and Chinatsu's dad tries to take Chinatsu's necklace, and if Kasumi's like, no, I'm not giving it. I'm going to
give it back myself.
I'll hold on to this.
Yeah.
And Chinatsu's dad seems a little surprised that Chinatsu still has that necklace.
Yeah.
And
well, it's sentimental stuff, and his dad does not understand that at all.
No, his dad's a fucking sociopath.
Yeah.
So we open up. It opens up with we get with Chinatsu and his dad. Chinatsu's dad and Kasumi find Chinatsu.
Yeah. And
Chinatsu's dad threatens Kasumi if Chinatsu can't kill the gang member that he had been beaten up before.
Right.
Because he was supposed to kill that kid, and he did not kill that kid.
Yeah, the dad just pulls a knife on Kasumi. He's like, yeah, I'll stab him. He's inside this building you're outside of. So go in, do it. And I'll just stand here with this knife on Kasumi till you do. And then you'll be a part of the team, and we can be father and son. It'll be great.
Mm-hmm. But Chinatsu's like, I won't follow your orders anymore. And he wants to use his hands to protect Kasumi.
Yeah, well, he's like, even if I do this, even if Kasumi somehow doesn't know what happened, like, my hands will be so dirty, like, I won't I won't be able to I won't be able to touch Kasumi again after this.
And his dad is like, that's why Fayuki had to protect you, and he died for it, didn't it? You expect to put this child through the exact same experience.
Yeah.
Didn't you approach this boy because he's the one who witnessed that scene? And so you spied on him, followed him home for an opportunity to silence him, although it looks like you've grown attached to him.
His dad is such a moron.
Yeah.
Like, what about Chintatsu made you think that he saw this child or this kid his age and was like, yeah, chance to silence him, good, tying up loose ends. Like, You're projecting, my man. That's what you would do. Like,
well, and that's what.
At no point was that part of Chinatsu's plan.
Well, Chinatsu rationalizes his actions with that same exact logic.
Well, not that he's going to silence him. He's just, I need to know what he knows.
Yeah. But you don't take someone out on an aquarium date in order to then murder them.
I just gotta, when we're standing in front of the whales, I'll be able to get the information I need.
Yeah. And Kasumi reflects that he also kind of already knew that something must have been going on, and he could only make out the shadows and the blood and the voice. So, and then he realizes that the boy in the alleyway is Chinatsu.
Yeah.
He kind of knew something was up, but he didn't know exactly what.
Chinatsu knew right from the beginning. Kasumi is figuring it out right now. In real time.
Kasumi is like, he throws him back Fuuki's necklace, and he tells Chinatsu that he saved him and that I'm glad for all that you have given me. I'm sure your brother also believed that. You are not the one at fault. And Chinatsu's dad is gonna slice Kasumi's little face up.
Yeah.
Because he's a monster. And Chinatsu
beats up his old man.
Kicks his ass.
Yeah, just for all of you out there, every day your father's getting a little bit weaker. You'll be able to take him one day. Just pick your time. pick your day.
Reno. Therapy.
Chinatsu, he picked his day. He got it. He nailed him. Well, if your dad's like this anyway, at the very least. Maybe not.
If your father is threatening the love of your life with a knife to their face, then yes, you probably deserve an ass kicking.
Should beat up their old man to absorb their power. I learned it in Highlander, so that's what should be done. And you should wait till they're at their weakest, because that's just smart business.
No, that is fair. No, if you're gonna wait, you need to beat someone up. You should wait until they're not strong enough to beat you back.
But yeah, there's a scene where, like afterwards, where he's Chintatsu's holding Kasumi, and you're not sure whether he killed his father or not. But you do get a scene of his father kind of lifting his head, like, ugh.
Well, it's Chinatsu is like, please allow me a few more moments to turn a blind eye to everything here.
Yeah.
He's worried. Even while he is protecting Kasumi, he's worried that he's going to be too violent.
Well, you don't want your I keep saying your kid, like he looks so little, this kid. You don't want your new love interest to hear you beating somebody up. Even if they can't see it, you don't want to hear that sound of you punching your dad.
I'm also imagining that people make noises when they get their asses kicked. So yeah,
the weak ones. Like me, I would definitely make noises. Let's be honest. Shit hurts.
I cry like a bitch.
That shit hurts. But the last shot of chapter 4 is oh man, real gut shot. It's a family pic of Chintatsu and his brother and their parents before all this bullshit started, and you're like, wow. God, in that picture, they look like a normal family, and they probably should have stuck with that, because, man, that would have been a lot better than this.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's a good scene. So, in the middle of kicking his dad's ass...
all of that's a good scene, by the way.
It really is. His dad tells him that he's spoiled, like how much he's spoiled him, and Chinatsu tells his dad... Right?
Cecilia... I've not asked you to kill somebody for 5 years. I cannot spoil you any more than that. Like, I have given you a million miles of leeway. Like, how many people have I asked you to murder recently? Oh, goose egg. Yeah. You know what this is? This is me babying you. That goose egg is how kind I've been to you. What fucking nutbag.
As I have said, maybe not to you exactly, but I know I have said it before to my best friend, not all people deserve children. There are some people for whom a child is a gift which they could never have actually earned if you had to earn it.
Oh, yeah.
And Chinatsu's dad is one of those people. I even think Kasumi's parents are people like that. Like, there are some people who do not deserve children. So, yeah, because Chinatsu tells his dad that they are not their tools. They are not your tools. We are not your tools. And he is reflecting that they should have been a family. And he's sure that his father used to think the same way. dirtying your hands for the people you hold dear, which eventually led to hurting those precious people. And he's like, if I have never met Kasumi, I might have walked the same path. And he's going to protect Kasumi. And Chinatsu and Kasumi... Yeah, Chinatsu did not kill his father. You're right. There's a nice little panel of him with his ass thoroughly kicked laying in the floor.
Yeah.
And he carries not Kasumi out of that little place that they were being held.
Yes.
And he apologizes. Kasumi apologizes that he followed without thinking of the consequences, which put Chinatsu in a difficult position because Kasumi was his dad's hostage. Like, that's...
This is the opening of chapter 5, by the way. Our final chapter.
Well, there's a 5.5 on this site. I don't know exactly what's on that half.
Oh, I don't either. We didn't cover it for the show, though, so...
Do you mind telling me... So, Kasumi's asking about if Chinatsu was the boy from back then, and... Yeah, Chinatsu owns up to everything that was said and that he knew.
No. There's really no harm in it now. Like, I've already told you, like, I killed my brother, and you heard me beat my dad up after he kidnapped you. I can probably spill the rest of the beans at this juncture.
I wrote down, Kasumi acknowledges that he shouldn't get into cars with strange men, a thing all women also know as well.
Yeah.
And it doesn't care and isn't super surprised that about what he has learned about Chinatsu since then. And he still just wants Chinatsu.
He's still like, let's travel together. Yeah. Let's go somewhere.
The only complaint I have is that this story does not have a very really strong established timeline. I'm not exactly sure how much time has passed since they met. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
How old they are, all that jazz.
Yeah.
And I really like the notion that Chinatsu sees Kasumi's eyes as eyes that see through everything.
Yeah.
And we learn that Chinatsu's father killed his mother when she found out about the gang and stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was... I was trying to figure out the justification of that. Like, and I was wondering if Chinatsu's dad killed his mom... like, directly in response to, like, oh, you didn't know I was in this gang life. Like, how could you have not known he raised 2 kids, like, in this life? Like, they trade every day. Like, they're not even, like, they're never allowed to have fun. I was wondering if it was more of, like, his dad blamed the mother for how soft Chinatsu was. Like, he couldn't kill when he needed to, and I blame you, woman.
Because there's not a very well-established timeline.
Yeah.
I think that the fun that they weren't allowed to have has more to do with after she died.
Oh, gotcha.
Because
he was able to just go full-on nut mode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's possible.
So, but I'm not, again, there's not a firm timeline for a lot of this stuff, so I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
I don't know how much further past that picture she got to live.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So I don't know if
Yeah.
If she confronted him at some point, because maybe she didn't know when they first got together.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, where do you keep going? And, you know, if she confronted him at some point.
Why do you keep yelling at our sons for playing baseball? Like, what's the deal with that?
I thought you promised to stop doing this. Like, maybe it was a situation like that where he's like, I'll get out of it. I'll stop doing.
Yes, and when you fall in love with the bad boys, it doesn't always end it with a happily ever after.
No. And it ends with her death, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, and he was planning on using his kids to keep in this lifestyle and to keep being his number two.
Have his two generals next to him.
And
like that's the family he pictured, which is just wild.
So fucked up, man. So Chinatsu is apologizing to Kasumi, and he's like, I lied to you and took advantage of your kindness to stay with you. And Chinatsu is telling Kasumi how different they are, and Kasumi's like, your hands are bigger than mine, and your voice is lower, and you can reach higher than me, but those are the only differences that I'm aware of. Like, even if it was all a lie, he was happy.
Yeah.
And he brought him, like, Chinatsu had brought Kasumi out of the room where he'd always been alone, so stay where I can see you. Stay where I can touch you, basically.
Yep.
And Kasumi basically just asks him not to go anywhere. It's a sweet little trade-off. Like, they...
Yeah.
But I don't know. Again, there's not a very well-established timeline. I don't know how much further past that picture she got to live. So I don't know if she got to live. I don't know. If she confronted him at some point. Maybe it was a situation like that where he's like, I'll get out of it. I'll stop doing.
Yeah.
Chinatsu owns up to all his shit, which wasn't really mostly his shit anyways. And Kasumi's like, okay, I accept you, now stay. Just stay with me.
Let's go somewhere. Let's take a trip.
Yep, so they do a little trip, and they get on the train, and end up in a...
Well, actually, a ryokan, like, similar to the one that Kasumi lives at.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the differences after they go and they take their, they dip in the onsen, in the hot springs. And he's talking about, like, oh, this place smells even older than ours. And our ryokan's pretty old. But he actually, not to fucking bring up my time in Japan again, but, man, he unlocked a memory because he's talking about how the smell of tatami, like, right after you've gotten out of a hot spring. I was like, oh, my God, I forgot about that. Like when you walk into a room with a tatami mat, I've said it. We've said it 100 times on the show. I don't know if we've ever described it. It's like tightly woven hay and straw, like so tight it's hard and across the floor, and then you lay a mat out on that and you sleep on it. It's actually surprisingly comfortable for being a floor. But it also gives off this very unique aroma, and it's stronger. Like after you've gotten out of a hot onsen and like you've dried off and the steam's still coming off you, and you walk into this room, the tatami smell just wafts into you, and you lay down and it's like it's filling your nostrils and you fall right asleep. And it's a sensation I'd completely forgotten about until little Kasumi lays down and in that exact same method, like fucking passes right out.
Mm-hmm. That they do establish that Kasumi calls his brother because he didn't tell his brother that they were going anywhere. So,
yeah, which good.
Yeah, like don't just run off with the random dude who took you to the aquarium and not mention it to your brother, who will worry about you. Yeah, the dude was covered in blood the last time we saw him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Kasumi's been gone longer than that because he left with Chintatsu's father earlier that day.
Which I'm sure he did not mention when he had his phone call.
He didn't run inside like, hey, leave him with a stranger. Be back soon, Satoya.
Yeah. So yeah, he passes out, and Chinatsu has like a I don't want to call it a vision. Give me a word, Reno.
For what happened?
His sort of daydream where he's choking Kasumi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess it is
sort of a vision. I don't know what I cannot think of the word. It's not the word I want to use, but I can't think of the word right now. A bad thought. Yeah, an intrusive thought. There we go.
That's great. Yeah,
he has an intrusive thought of choking Kasumi, and he goes to turn to sort of like lean away from him, and Kasumi grabs his hand, and they end up snuggling.
Yeah, and
they go for a walk the next day. And they get back on the train, actually.
Yeah, and Chintatsu's like, okay, we'll head back now. And Kasumi's like, no, one more day.
Yeah,
let's travel a little further.
Yeah. So they keep walking, or they get on the train, and then they keep walking around, and they end up
staying at another inn.
Staying in I wonder where they get the money for this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess being a gangster pays okay.
Yeah, maybe he's got some cash.
Or being a having an inn pays okay.
Yeah, being an heir.
Yeah.
So they make out. And one thing leads to another,
they consummate their relationship.
I think this is actually a really interesting, an interesting foray into smut, because in this particular instance, although we get to see what's happening, a lot of the words are from Kasumi's point of view.
Yeah.
So on top of what we're actually getting to see, we're also getting to read about how it feels to Kasumi because he cannot see it.
Yeah.
He doesn't, it's not, for him, it's not just visual. So a lot of the captions are like how his breath's getting hotter and how his heart's beating faster and just these things that aren't usually wrote about when you're reading smut like this. Yeah. Like, there's a neat little juxtaposition between the images and actually reading what Kasumi is going through because he cannot see it.
Yes.
I really, I appreciated the contrast between the two.
It was creative. I, on the other hand, would have taken this scene out and had the father come back one more time and have a cool final fight. But here's the thing. Chintatsu, you can't leave your dad alive, man. That guy's a blight. Like,
we have established that Chinatsu's not here to kill people.
Then you hire one of your friends. You're in the underworld. You got connections. But like, you cannot let your father fucking stay alive and be out there doing his bad shit. Like,
my only complaint is that there's no lightsaber. Like,
that's true. In this sex scene, it is very tame. It is more just two men without their shirts rolling around in the sack.
Yep. You get a don't stop, and then you cut to when they're done.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
Which is ironic. Say, don't stop, and then the artist stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, we do get a sort of closure with the father, but it's basically like, yeah, my dad stopped calling, and the last time he called, he sounded really despondent. And I'm like, dude, he showed up and kidnapped your lover to get you back in the business. We really think this shit's over? I don't think this shit's over. Like, you need to run him down with your car, or maybe get Kasumi to, because he's got deniability. You run over your dad, put Kasumi in the driver's seat, and Kasumi's like, sorry, dude, I'm blind. Not my fault. Problem solved. But yes, they wake up. They both say the I love yous, and they wake up, and man, this is what I've been waiting for the whole time. We finally get Kasumi to the ocean, which yay.
Well, before that, after they have their fun tangle in the sheets, Kasumi is saying that he always felt sort of
horny,
familiar. Well, also that.
I always
look. He goes into that hot sauna thingy with Chinatsu, fully naked.
Come on, yeah.
I don't believe that he was not. I don't think he was against the
is there someone else in here? Oh my, I'm blind, you know.
Yeah. He hunted Chinatsu down. He would have been there.
He literally said, I couldn't find the place on my own. I had to get someone's help to get here because I haven't been to the onsen in so long. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. He would have been fine getting on in that onsen. Chinatsu's waiting was just Chinatsu being very polite.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a little scene where they're talking, and Kasumi is just happy that he got to meet Chinatsu again. And Chinatsu is reflecting on the silent and cold night all by himself. And it's sort of like they found each other in the night. Mm-hmm. It's sweet. I like that. It's so cute.
Yeah. Is this where they talk about the flower, or is that later on?
That's a little bit later.
Okay.
So yeah,
this is when they're on the beach.
Yeah. Chinatsu wakes up and Kasumi is still there, and he didn't realize Kasumi was awake. But they say good morning, and Kasumi is just really happy that Chinatsu stayed. And yes, then they do get to the beach. That'd be
really shitty if, like, every morning Chinatsu left the necklace with him, like, I got more shit to settle. It's like, oh, I hate this relationship. Like, every day this kid just leaves his necklace and goes off to do God knows what. But no, he does not. Chinatsu takes Kasumi to this sand. He finally gets to dip his feet in the ocean, and I am a
dream come true.
The ocean's my place. I've always believed that everyone's either like a city person, a mountain person, or a beach person. I am definitely a beach person.
I think I might be a mountain person because I love the trees. Give me the trees, man.
I tell you, they grow them real green up there. I'm a big fan of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing. You can also, like, if you're a dog person, you can also like cats. Like, I don't dislike the city, and I don't dislike the mountains, but, yeah.
I like the oneness with nature. Like, give me really tall trees and a nice place to walk through them.
Yeah.
I love that. Now, I do also like the ocean. I agree with you.
Man, it speaks to me. Like, whenever I'm at the ocean, I'm at my happiest. But yeah, so is Kasumi, man. Kasumi is just on cloud 9 here. Yeah,
he's very happy that he finally gets to go to the ocean, and he's grateful to Chinatsu for making him. Kasumi-san, you mentioned that I was the one that brought you out of your house. The world is full of more things you wouldn't want to see, so I've lived my life pretending not to look at it. And Chinatsu says that Kasumi is the reason for him finally wanting to see the world and go far and stuff.
Yep.
And then we have a cute little moment where, against the sun rising, Kasumi can sort of see the outline of Chinatsu's jaw. and he doesn't want Chinatsu to leave yet, so he kisses him, and there's this really sweet little kiss by the ocean. And in the deepest, darkest pits of the night, I rely on the light as I walk to stop me from being swallowed by the abyss.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Kasumi just wants Chinatsu to still stay.
Yeah. And then they go sniff the flower. Let's go see some flowers.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does mention that his father stopped reaching out. His father just gave up. He's like, that kid's fucking useless. I'm done.
Here's the thing: if you, the only reason why you want your son back is to be an assassin. Yeah. You know what? You could kill his lover and make him hate you. Yeah. He's still not going to kill people for you.
Or he'll kill you. His first assassination, and that's not what you're looking for. That's not the goal.
But a year has passed.
Yep.
And yeah, they're back, and Chinatsu tells Kasumi that he's going to move, and he wants Kasumi to move with him. And Kasumi is very happy that Chinatsu's honoring his request to stay by his side. And it's sweet. It's a sweet little... Yeah.
And then they're looking at the flowers, and they talk about the language of the flowers, how each flower means something. And like when you make bouquets, they're actually messages to someone that you love. And... let's see, and they're looking at flowers called the 4 o'clocks. Mm-hmm. And the 4 o'clocks are symbols of cowardice and doubting love. And cowardice because they only bloom at night. Mm-hmm. And doubting love because you never know what color they're going to bloom. Yeah. But this field is all white, which takes away the doubt of love. And the two of them no longer believe it's cowardice to only live in darkness because, well, that's Kasumi's life. And that's Chinatsu and Kasumi, that's where they fell in love in the night. Yeah. Much like earlier, Kasumi talks about how Chinatsu talks about how much he doesn't like it when it rains. And Kasumi's like, oh, the rain was my favorite time because more people came to the end and I got to talk to more people. So... like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, the rain is what you make it. The night is what you make it. Like, whether those things have negative or positive connotations is only based on your experiences in those situations.
Yes, it's very good.
And the night is now Chinatsu and Kasumi. It's a great source of comfort for both of them.
And it's also...
as are these flowers.
They're both, in different ways, they only really live in the night.
Yeah.
Like... Kasumi can't see. Everything is always constant darkness. Yeah. So he's always in the night. And Chinatsu...
or actually, maybe they both used to live in the night. Because Kasumi was alone in his darkness. And Chinatsu used to be a criminal who only operated at night. And they both brought each other out of that darkness. Yeah.
That's a good... I like that too, yeah.
It works both ways.
So they call it trusting love. Yeah. And Chinatsu says, I love it since it's so like you talking to Kasumi. Yeah. Because Kasumi is a very...
stupidly trusting that kid. Luckily you got Chinatsu with you now, so you should be safe. But man, stupidly trusting.
So this was all in a letter that...
They wrote to Satori. Yeah.
Satori-san. A letter from Kasumi and Chinatsu.
And there's a girl next. So Satori found himself a little lady because there's 2 of them there, and I'm like, oh, good. And the last shot you get is Kasumi just as happy, standing next to the ocean, just like smiling, so happy, like happier than you've seen him through this entire thing, and just like, all right. They're going to be fine.
They are.
These kids are going to be okay.
And Satori looks happy, too. Like, it's nice to see his brother happy. I guess all that's really different in this 5.5 is you get a bunch of really pretty drawn art panels.
Oh,
you can use that.
I know you ain't mad at that.
No, I'm not mad at that. You can use that for your...
those are your wallpapers.
Facts, though. Yeah. So, yeah, that is the end of Touching Your Night. Again, Mori Maori... her art is fantastic.
Very good art.
I love reading that one just because it's so pretty to look at.
I actually said you didn't like. I actually really like the story, and I like the vagaries that it doesn't really go into. Like you
what
get
does he do for work?
Yeah,
I have so many questions.
I'm just like, look, I got everything you need. He does bad stuff for work. That's all I need to know. Like for me, it makes no difference if he's doing it for the government or the Yakuza.
Well, that's true. But what does he do after him and Kasumi-san? After he cuts ties with his father, I imagine.
I mean, the only loose end I want to tie up is someone needs to kill his father. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with it.
Also true. That's fine. That's fair. But also, like, at what point? What does he put on a job application? I used to work for the Yakuza. Can I work at your supermarket now? Like, how does that work?
I assume.
Are they both living off Kasumi-san's money? Like,
Kasumi's your get out of jail free card. You're like, oh, I have no work history because I've been taking care of my husband here. Like, sorry, he is now independent enough. I can go back into the workforce, and I would like to start here at your Lawson Conveni, please.
Yeah. Does Chinatsu get a job working for Satori? Like, are they?
Well, they're obviously somewhere far. Maybe they're on their honeymoon, but they're somewhere far away. So they had to write a letter back.
Are they going out and buying up?
Chinatsu straight up says, "I'm going to move, and I want you to move with me." So, in my head canon, his father died of cancer right after that last phone call and left Chinatsu all the money from his ill-gotten gains. And so Chinatsu is independently wealthy now. Him and Kasumi, plus in Japan you can get a beachfront house for relatively cheap. So they get a nice beachfront property. Chinatsu gets a job at a local convenience store. Yeah, he's working days at the 7-Eleven and then going home and eating fresh fish with Kasumi every night.
Is that what they're doing?
Kasumi's probably making money translating books into Braille. Because that's another little tidbit we get at the end. Is that Kasumi's translating books into Braille for other people to read.
Yeah.
And of course he's starting with the dolphin shark book.
He was listening. Because Chinatsu had walked in when he had fallen asleep listening to one of the recordings of Chinatsu reading to him, which is also, or maybe they're just a team of people and Chinatsu reads to Kasumi and Kasumi makes them books into Braille and they make money that way. I don't know.
Possible, yeah.
But it's just, there's so many questions I have at the end, and I like all my stuff to be tied up with a neat little bow.
Yeah.
And
I was fine with it. Yeah.
I just want to know, like, how are they living? What kind of jobs we got going on here?
You saw the smile. They're living well.
Now look, that part I do like.
Yeah.
Do I care? I want to know. I want to know just to satisfy that little like nosy part of me that needs to know the details of like how everything's happening. Am I glad they're happy? Yes, absolutely. They both deserve it.
Awfully big of you, Cecilia. Cecilia with the brave takes.
Hey. I admit that I'm nosy, so there's that. I got that going for me at least.
Yeah. Well, do you have a question for me?
I have a silly. Well, I don't know if you call it silly. Okay, I do have a question, and it is of the big variety.
Give it.
Which one of your senses do you think you could lose and adjust to the loss of the easiest?
Oh, man, adjust easiest.
Because watching
I feel like that would have to be touch as far as adjusting with ease. Not to say it would not be a great loss, but not being able to talk would kill me. I go ahead and say that. That'd be the death of me right there. Just hang myself. The loss of sight would also be pretty horrible. Loss of hearing. That's kind of happening lately anyway. Like as I get older, man, my hearing's gone to crap.
No.
And taste, man, if you had to give up taste or touch, because it's down to those two. Like the other three are really important. Like the day-to-day, imagine how hard your day-to-day would be without one of those three.
Yeah, no. So
it's got to be touch or taste. I'm going to get rid of touch because I can still
I could probably do without taste more than the touch.
Wow.
Well, if I imagine that if I could get rid of taste, if I would lose it, maybe I would eat less sweets, and that would be a perk for me because I want to. I have a problem where I like cake.
You and me both, yeah.
So I feel like taste would be the one that I could adjust to the easiest, but as someone who is almost legally blind, I know what it is to be without sight to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And that would suck. I need to see things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And hearing is the same way.
Yeah.
And smell, I enjoy smell, I guess.
Yeah. I forgot about smell. Smell, I could do without smell, I think. Maybe smell's the one I'd get rid of.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, man, there's a lot of smells it would suck to miss. But
there are.
But yeah, I'm gonna change it to smell. Somehow I forgot smell completely.
But touch.
Yeah, I'll lose smell and be okay.
Yeah, taste. Taste is the one I feel like I would adjust to the quickest and the easiest.
Yeah,
but
I'm gonna go with smell because man, that's another one that has both good and bad. It's like like you're not smelling good stuff anymore, but you're not smelling bad stuff. You can date the stinkiest people and have no problem with it because you have no idea. Yeah. And when people say, "Oh, that person stinks," you'll be like, "I gotta take your word for it."
I believe that you are correct, but you know what? Nose hasn't worked in 20 years, so we're good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're happy. Don't mess with us.
Well, and that was my question. I was just
nicely done. No, the census question. So in 2 weeks, come back here. We've got more for you. And one that, weirdly enough, Cecilia got for me. The Persona 5 Volume 1 by Hisato Murasaki. This is a manga adaptation of a video game, Persona 5 being that
obviously.
Game, which is one of my favoriteest games. And man, the manga's really good too. And I want an excuse to talk about the game, and so we're going to cover the manga. And again, it's something Cecilia got me, so
I fully support this.
It's a representation of friendship.
Aww.
So, come back in 2 weeks for Persona Volume 1.
All right.
And till then, please check in our show notes. We got all sorts of places you can contact us. Leave comments, 5-star reviews, all the things that make the podcast go up and make people find it easier. We would greatly appreciate it. And if you like what we're doing and have a little extra money to toss in our direction, we have Patreons as well. Show notes for all that. Mm-hmm. But until then, be your own ally. And we'll catch you back here in 2 weeks.
Yeah, what he said. Yeah. Bye.